This might sting a little bit, but your vision board sucks. Look at it. Now look at me. Now apologize to your future. Look, I know why you made it. You want more money, the Lambo, the villa, the better body, the freedom from the 9 to 5, and that little voice inside your head to stop screaming, "Not again," every time you open your eyes in the morning. That part is valid. I've been where you are now. Desperate, emotionally drowning. Still attractive, but one email away from wanting to strangle your boss. That last one was a lie. The boss bit, not the attractive bit. I've never had a real job, but I manifested the feeling and it didn't feel good. So I understand you. The good news is, it's not entirely your fault. You got sold a lie, as did I, as did everyone else who got sucked into the idea that your dream life will magically appear because you stuck pictures onto cardboard and hung it in your kitchen like a little shrine to financial make-believe. That's not manifestation. That's delusion with craft supplies. So today, I'm going to show you why your board sucks, how to fix it, and the difference between truthful expectations and beautifully marketed bullshit. If your vision board just flinched, beautiful. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below so I know who is genuinely ready to do the work and who is still spiritually scrapbooking their way through a financial emergency. And share this with someone whose dream life is currently being held together by glue, denial, and a Canva template they absolutely did not need to pay for. I'm Caden Vale, abundance mentor, alignment guide, and someone who can usually tell within 4 seconds whether a person is creating a dream board for financial abundance or simply doing emotional scrapbooking with a free Canva subscription and unresolved father wounds. Because that's the problem. Most people think vision boarding is about intention. It isn't, not really. It's about financial body language. It's about whether your desires look like they belong to someone who expects prosperity or someone who still feels slightly guilty ordering sparkling water without checking the menu first. And I say this with compassion, because I learned it during a very vulnerable chapter of my life. Shortly after I found myself in what I now call a season of visual insolvency. At the time, I was in Caden Vale, close to broke, temporarily overexposed to locally sourced organic cacao, financially undersupported by my father, and watching the last of my $300,000 quietly evaporate in a way that felt less like financial abundance and more like a Dr. Joe Dispenza guided meditation. Scary, uncomfortable, and really weird. I was building my vision board out of screenshots, free Pinterest images, and the kind of nervous aesthetic choices that can only come from a night of local rice whiskey, poor nervous system regulation, and the mental aftermath of a 12-hour mushroom trip I was later advised not to declare as a business expense. It was devastating. I remember looking at the board and feeling something immediately. It wasn't the mushrooms. It wasn't expansion. It wasn't energetic alignment. It was embarrassment. The fonts were timid. The layout was apologetic. The cars were cropped badly. The houses looked rented. Even the holidays somehow felt discounted. And that's when I realized something that changed the entire trajectory of my mindset coaching work. A vision board is not just a collage. It is a visual credit score for your self-concept. You can tell everything about a person by the way they arrange desire. If the board feels cluttered, your nervous system is cluttered. If the images are crooked, your standards are crooked. If the whole thing looks like it was assembled during an emotional spiral with no curation, no spatial discipline, no gestalt design, and no premium restraint, then abundance can feel that. And so can I, against my will. Now, to be clear, I do think a vision board can be an excellent tool if used correctly. Not because the universe sees your badly printed photo of a Lambo and immediately calls the dealership on your behalf. That's not manifestation. That's something that could get you institutionalized if mentioned at dinner. A vision board can work when it changes what you notice, what you choose, what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you become. It gives the mind a direction. It gives the nervous system a pattern. It gives your behavior a standard to either rise toward or expose itself against. That part is useful. That part is real. That part does not require some blonde woman wearing oversized black-rimmed glasses to tell you your money wound is located somewhere behind your pelvis. This is where the self-help industry turns on the money printer. Because the self-help world has a beautiful talent for taking something practical, rubbing essential oil on it, adding the word quantum, removing all accountability, slapping a $2,000 price tag on it, and then redirecting the blame back onto you when nothing changes. It's actually frickin' genius, and I can respect that, not morally, commercially. So long as I put my ethics and principles aside and not think too hard about where the money came from. There's a lot of high-end influencers in this space who have shared with the world their wisdom, knowledge, methods, and teachings over the years. Abraham Hicks gave people emotional alignment. Useful if you're into taking life advice from a non-physical group consciousness from another dimension, channeled through a woman named Esther, who is the earthly voice for this, as she calls it, source energy. I mean, it sounds believable. Neville Goddard gave people self-concept. Powerful. His idea of living in the end is genuinely brilliant. Just don't think too long about the part of you living in the now, where the rent exists, school fees exist, car repayments exist, and your future self has apparently become too spiritually advanced to open the electricity bill. Dr. Joe Dispenza gave people mental rehearsal and nervous system change. Genuinely useful, until every answer starts sounding like you can sit very still, breathe like you're trying to restart a lawnmower, and imagine your way into a new personality while your actual life quietly curls up into the fetal position. And then there's also the hair. Did I miss something here? Now, I'm not saying anything and I'm not making a claim, I'm making eye contact. But when a man teaches transformation at that level, people are naturally going to look at the hairline and wonder whether he regrew it through quantum coherence, or if it was less created through the field and more created in a clinic. That's not criticism, it's inquiry. Very spiritual. And speaking of spiritual, we come to The Secret. Ah, The Secret. I love that franchise. Not as a spiritual teaching, I'm not an idiot. As a scalable business model. Now that's perfection. How it convinced millions of grown adults all around the world, which may or may not have included myself, that staring at photos of a villa, a sports car, and a fake check was a form of financial planning, was honestly beautiful. From a marketing and sales point of view, that is. I mean, it has grossed an estimated $300 million in combined sales. But from a reality point of view, Jesus. Because The Secret did something extraordinary. It took hope, wrapped it in a warm hug of empty platitudes, added just enough ancient spiritual-sounding language to make people stop asking questions, and sold the idea that wanting harder was basically the same as becoming different. Don't question it. I'm absolutely sure it's legit. And if that's not enough, we now have to deal with the TikTok, Instagram manifestation kids with ring lights and painted on eyebrows telling strangers to act as if, while their entire business model is a notes app, CapCut, and the confidence of someone who has never had to explain themselves to anyone, ever. Frequency, portal, timeline, quantum leap. They say these words like toddlers say dinosaur, loudly, repeatedly, with no burden of understanding. And people buy it. Of course they buy it. People are tired. People are struggling. People want hope. People want to believe their current life is not connected to habits, standards, avoidance, behavior, spending, boundaries, discipline, environment, choices, and the tiny private identity they keep rehearsing every day. They would rather believe the universe is delayed. Maybe the manifestation is processing. Maybe Mercury is in retrograde. Maybe their sacral chakra has poor connection to the field. Maybe Abraham is busy. Maybe Joe is somewhere in the quantum field checking his hair. Maybe The Secret is true and a yacht will arrive because they looked at one really intensely while saying they're worthy to receive. No, sometimes your manifestation is not delayed. Sometimes you just bought into the scam. That's the part nobody wants to put on the t-shirt at the live event merch stand. Because become different is harder to sell than believe harder. This is where people confuse a great story with reality. They read The Secret once, stare at a picture of their dream house, and then get frustrated when reality doesn't immediately reorganize itself around their laminated desperation. Beautiful, human, the kind of human The Secret knew how to target. Hopeful enough to believe, vulnerable enough to buy, and disappointed enough to be sold the next edition. That's not my highway, but this is why I no longer teach ordinary visual goal setting. Too basic, too available. 2, I printed this on the work printer because I can't afford ink cartridges. White label ink cartridges. Now there's a side hustle I haven't explored. Hey Siri, add that to the list. Anyway, I don't teach that. I teach visual solvency. Because if your board still looks financially anxious, your mind will interpret it as a cry for help rather than a signal of direction. Don't vision board from longing, vision board from ownership. Don't choose images that say, "I hope this happens to me." Choose images that say, "This is the kind of life my choices now need to support." Less sexy, more useful, annoyingly adult. That is the difference between a board that attracts and a board that begs. And most boards beg. They scream things like, "Please let me be rich. Please let me become the kind of person who owns neutral-toned kitchenware and doesn't panic in luxury environments. Please let me heal my relationship with money without examining my actual cognitive behavior around spending, avoidance, shame, impulse control, or the fact that I just paid $888 for a PDF called Wealth Womb Activation." That energy is far too available. A useful vision board is calmer, less eager, less ransom note vibes. It doesn't overcompensate. It gives your mind something clear enough to aim at, but not so delusional that your nervous system immediately files a complaint. Your board should not just look inspiring. It should look believable enough to change your behavior. There's a difference. Inspiring is what people make when they still need motivation, while searching for loose change under the couch. Believable is what people make when they are ready to build standards, habits, and decisions around the identity they keep claiming online. Let me give you one of my foundational teachings that I give my clients. If your vision board contains even one image that feels good enough for now, remove it. That's scarcity in JPEG form. If your board has too many words, affirmations, explanations, or tiny captions trying to emotionally justify your desires, remove those too. Wealth doesn't need a paragraph. Luxury doesn't need context. Financial abundance doesn't want to read your healing thesis in pastel font. A solvent board is direct, spacious, curated. It should feel like the visual equivalent of someone who says very little, has excellent hair, and no issue paying in full. This is also where minimalism becomes important. Not broke minimalism. Not, "I own one chair because I am spiritually above furniture." Premium minimalism, the kind where empty space suggests restraint, not eviction. Because when your board looks cleaner, your thinking becomes cleaner. When your thinking becomes cleaner, your choices become cleaner. When your choices become cleaner, your life has fewer opportunities to look like a group project led by your wounded inner child. So here's the actual method for people who genuinely want to try vision boarding without turning it into a little altar for financial make-believe. First, choose no more than 5 core images. Not 57, not 82, not every single thing you panic saved from Pinterest at 1:14 a.m. while whispering, "This is my year," into a room that has absolutely heard that before. You are not building a police evidence wall for your future. You are building direction. Money, health, home, work, love, or whatever genuinely matters once you remove the dream of owning a white couch no one is allowed to sit on. 5 images, not a collage of things you want to steal from the wealthy. 5. Your nervous system is already a fried circuit board, and you're trying to scream at it with a Lambo, a genetically impossible soulmate who's probably AI generated, a Pilates body that requires a lifestyle you don't possess, passive income, a fortress in Tuscany, a super yacht, a third Rolex, and a woman laughing alone in linen near a bowl of undressed salad. What is that? It's not a vision. It's a spiritual ransom note from a kidnapper who thinks the cosmos is running a personal concierge service just for them. Newsflash: the universe is completely, beautifully, utterly indifferent to your desire for luxury luggage. It doesn't care. It's busy expanding. It's cold, it's dark, and it honestly doesn't give a shit about your aesthetic. Every single image on that piece of cardboard must be tied directly to a grueling, unsexy human behavior. Behavior. That's the dirty little word the self-help industry shoves behind a $400 Himalayan salt lamp because "get off your ass and take responsibility" doesn't look pretty written in gold foil on a $4,000 weekend retreat brochure. They want to sell you the dream. They don't want to tell you about the plumbing. You got a mansion on your board? Fine. What does the person who actually pays the taxes on that house do differently on a Tuesday morning? Do they balance a ledger? Do they cold call people who hate them? Or do they stop buying tiny, overpriced emotional treats every single time their fragile nervous system experiences a light breeze? You got a shredded, peak performance body on there? What does that person actually eat? What do they lift? What toxic relationship did they cancel? What did they finally admit to themselves in the mirror at 3 a.m.? You got a mountain of cash on the board? What specific, miserable skill, job, awkward conversation, or hard boundary makes that money mathematically possible? Notice how profoundly unmagical and depressing this sounds? Good. That is how you know it might actually work. Real change has a horrific branding problem. It doesn't shimmer. It doesn't smell like Palo Santo or essential oils. It doesn't float down through an interdimensional portal. It usually looks like a fully grown, exhausted adult opening a spreadsheet at midnight and quietly losing the will to romanticize their own chaotic bullshit. It is time to evict every single affirmation that exists solely to help you avoid taking action. I am wealthy. Lovely. Did you do a single thing today to support that claim, or did you just say it while ordering Uber Eats with money you don't have? I attract money easily. Beautiful sentiment. Did you send the fucking invoice? I am open to receiving. Powerful, truly spiritual. But are you also open to replying to the client within the same business week? Are you open to checking the numbers, doing the labor, and not spending cash like your wounded inner child got full access to Apple Pay during a chaotic lunar event? Receiving still requires hands. And sometimes, those hands actually have to pick up a tool and do something. Annoying? Yes. Primitive? Absolutely. Effective? Every single time. Your board needs to be visually calm, not boring, calm, clear, spacious. It should not look like it is desperate to convince the universe of its worth. It should look like a done deal. Real luxury doesn't shout. True wealth doesn't over-explain itself to strangers. Actual confidence doesn't require 6 different cursive fonts, a butterfly sticker, and the phrase "rich era" slapped haphazardly over a copyrighted stock photo of Dubai. If your board looks like a discount pharmacy perfume advertisement had a severe nervous breakdown, strip half of it off. Then rip off half of what's left. Then sit there and suffocate in the sheer discomfort of staring at blank space. That's called restraint. A lot of you will confuse that silence with abandonment because your dysregulated nervous system thinks a blank space means nobody loves you. That's not design feedback, my friend. That's a direct referral to a licensed therapist. You look at this thing every single week. Not to beg, not to pray, and not to manifest. You look at it to measure. Ask yourself one question. Did this specific image change my behavior over the last 7 days? If the text message exchange or the bank statement says no, rip it off and throw it in the trash. Decoration is not transformation. A board that does not actively dictate your choices is not a manifestation tool. It is wall art for high-level avoidance. It is a framed, colorful excuse. It's a tiny, pathetic shrine to the version of you that wants a radically different life, but would prefer not to be mildly inconvenienced by the process of becoming a different person. And yeah, I know, that is a hell of a lot less exciting than pretending the universe is a giant celestial vending machine where you just push the buttons and wait for the snacks to drop. But guess what? It actually works. The real power of a vision board is not that it magically drags your future toward your bedroom while you lie face down under the covers, scrolling through spiritual TikTok, eating cheese crackers with the manic, emotional urgency of a freshly divorced 40-year-old. The real power is that it trains your goddamn attention. It shapes your standards. It forces your physical body to remember exactly who the hell you said you were trying to become. It makes your actual goals visible enough that your daily excuses start to look embarrassing in the harsh light of day. That is useful. That is honest. That is personal transformation without the traveling circus. No flutes, no portals, no woman named Erin whispering the word "receive" into a microphone like your mortgage company is suddenly going to apologize and wipe the debt. Just you, your choices, your behavior, your uncomfortable psychological patterns sitting right there under the light bulbs of reality, blinking like guilty criminals caught in a police lineup. So go ahead, make the board, source the images, rehearse the identity until you're blue in the face. Feel the future. Regulate your precious nervous system. Build the self-concept. But do not become one of those beautiful, hopelessly lost souls who confuses clinical delusion, magical thinking, and emotional intensity with a tactical business plan. Crying near a glossy picture of a Bentley is not a strategy. It's not even a good afternoon. The universe may meet you halfway, sure, but halfway still requires physical movement. It requires legs. It requires choices. It requires receipts. It requires the deeply unspiritual, completely boring act of doing exactly what you said you were going to do when nobody is watching, nobody is clapping, and absolutely nobody is calling it an alignment portal. That is the work. Not staring at a luxury sedan until reality feels pressured by your gaze. Not asking an entity's channeler if your past due rent has the right cosmic vibration. Not sitting in a dark room trying to Bluetooth your pineal gland into a 5-bedroom mansion. Not watching The Secret for the 9th time, scratching your head, and wondering why your life still requires manual labor. The work is becoming a person that the images on your board would actually recognize, which is devastating to realize because that person probably owns a calendar. They have boundaries, they maintain a budget, and they drink water before their physical body has to file a formal complaint to management. So no, your manifestations are not delayed by the angels. Your board may simply look like your fractured self-concept assembled it during a midnight panic attack and then gave it a spiritual label to feel better. Your life is just waiting for your actual behavior to catch up with high-end aesthetic. That's the awful, unvarnished truth. It's not sexy, it's not mystical. It cannot be easily packaged and sold to you in 12 convenient video modules with a bonus breathwork audio vault. But it is useful. And if that sounds deeply confronting to you, beautiful. That is the exact sound of delusion leaving the premises, slowly, with paperwork. To you, my beautiful delusional souls, I say, namaste. And never forget, premium personal transformation is absolutely non-refundable. Now go pay your bills.